Hello, this is Zlewikk and today I would like to present to you a new guide, this time for the Aztecs. So in this guide I'm going to show you how to reform your religion in just 30 years without any bordering of the Western countries. Yes, we can do that, we just need to play with the animist religion a little bit, and I'll then show you how to fight with the Europeans. It's quite easy to be honest, and how to invade them to get the Sunset Invasion achievement. So before we begin, remember to leave a like and comment this video and subscribe the channel. So let's do this. The first knowledge that we are going to need for this run is the knowledge about the religion of the Aztecs, so the Nahuatl. Everything is working over here around the religion reforms and Doom. To take a religion reform, you can see the bonuses that they're going to give you. You need to have less than 50 Doom, 5 vassals, and at least 1 stability. Taking 1 reform is taking your 1 stability and 3 out of 5 vassals. So you're going to live with just 2 vassals. And what is very important here, you are not getting a new truce with those broken vassals. So if you didn't have a truce for the previous war, you can attack them right away. Second feature is Doom, which is increasing +1 for every province that you're owning. And that's why you should not expand until you reform your religion, because you're going to get a lot of Doom from those provinces. But don't worry, there are a couple of bonuses that are going to help you keep the Doom low, especially killing the enemy troops. So the first step that we are going to take inside the game are obviously estates. We are going to take 150 points from nobility and clergy, just increase the influence a little bit to do that, and then we are going to give Tlapocan to merchant guilds to increase the influence and take 150 points from them as well, and on top of that, money. Don't worry, we given the gold province to them, but for now gold is not our main income and we might just revoke that later. Second step are rivals. This is like the most important thing is to rival Tlaxcala over here, because the first war is going to be against them, so it's cool to rival them. And the 2 other rivals should be your bordering countries, for example the northern country of Otomi. Of course, we also need to think about our allies, and we should get at least 1 ally that is far away from us. For example, something from the far north, like Xalisco or Tonala. It is potential support, especially in the first few wars, and we are getting less aggressive expansion in such countries. Next step is to prepare for the first war, so we need to get 2000 mercenaries to save some manpower and 1k manpower army. That will give us 2 units over the force limit, but it is very important to win the first war, which might be against 2 or even 3 nations. Our first war is going to be against Tlaxcala. We are getting a free casus belli on every bordering country, a flower war, so we can attack them right away after recruiting the troops. We need to stackwipe the army as fast as possible, either on the first or on the second battle. That is very important, because if they get more allies, like 2 of them, it might be hard to win more battles, but when we stackwipe them and siege them as quick as possible, it will be way easier. In the peace offer, we need to get the fort Tlaxcala, because it's a fort level 3 and it's a pain in the ass. So we need to get rid of that and get it for ourselves, and we need to vassalize Tlaxcala, because we'll be using them later for our trick with the animist religion. And on top of that, if they had any allies in the war, we should vassalize at least 1 of them. Now that we have Tlaxcala as our vassal, we can go north to border enemy's country. To do that, we just need to attack Otomi and take Medzitlan in the war. Nothing else, because we don't want more vassals, because Tlaxcala Liberty Desire might get too high and we will need the Liberty Desire to be below 50 later. Now we can attack 1 of 2 bordering animist countries. We should attack the weaker of them with less allies and less troops. And just a warning here, I made a mistake here, check if they are already in any other war, because to piece them out, we'll need 100% war score, and it means none of the provinces might be occupied by anybody else. I wasted 7 years waiting for them to piece out another war. So when we get this 100% war score, all we have to do to force them to force us to convert to animist. That's all. Now when we switch to animist, crazy things are happening, because our government fort changes, we are no longer primitives, we earn 100% from the gold mines, or around 20 income, and we can embrace and develop institutions. So we are going to develop feudalism in Mexico and Renaissance in Texcoco. This will increase our gold income furthermore. So now we'll be going to embrace these institutions, save tons of money for the later expansion, and when we do that, we can switch back to Nahuatl and be primitives again. To do that, we just need to take Cholula from Tlaxcala. That's why we needed them. And if the liberty size is over 50, just use your prestige, repay the loans, and maybe develop the province once or twice. Take Cholula, wait a few months to get an event which is allowing you to switch back to Nahuatl religion. And we are continuing our amazing expansion. Now I can move to quickly getting as many reforms as fast as possible. To do that, just use the flower war casus belli. Do not hesitate to vassalize the coalition in the war, and the first reform should come around 1460. And here we are taking the discipline bonus. Of course, after taking the reform, you're losing 3 out of 5 our vassals, so keeping 2 of them, but as said earlier, we are not getting a new truce with the broken vassals. So the expansion should be quick, and this is how you should get the second reform and wage bonus, the third reform, fourth one, and the fifth reform should arrive between 1472 1475, so quite quickly. Now that we have the last reform, we can reform our whole religion without the audience of the Western European colonizers. So what we should do now is fully vassalize one of those enemy's countries, then release it as our vassal. By doing that, we are changing the government form, they are no longer primitives and they can embrace institutions. And when they do, you can give them some money to do that. When they do, you can reform your religion. Nothing easier than that. Reforming religion in freaking 1475. In my run it was quite later because I forgot about this step. This step is very important and I've lost over 10 years on that. Now we can move to expansion. Right now we should be uniting our home region as fast as possible, and the first idea group should be exploration. Why? Because if you are going for the Sunset Invasion, we should be exploring whole Europe. And obviously at the beginning we are going to use that for the exploring of the Caribbeans, and most importantly Inca. We should get our colonies as close as possible to Inca to get a casus belli on them and start expanding in this region, because there are plenty of gold mines which are going to increase our income furthermore. And just remember, do not hesitate to use vassals either in your home region or Incas to balance your power points, because you're probably still a little bit behind on it and we need to catch up with the Europeans. So the next step is more of a tip on how to deal with the European empires, the colonial empires. It's quite easy. So if you attack the colonial nation, they cannot get the overlord in this war, so it's just a free war score. You can get it quite easily, and the war score cost of the colonies, so the provinces which are colonies, is very cheap. Just remember, you might pay shitons of diplo points for the pieces, and also a lot of aggressive expansion. But don't worry, you'll get this aggressive expansion only on the overlords and maybe the allies if they see you. It's, you know, it will be more problematic later in the game when you'll be seeing the whole Europe and they will be seeing you. It might cause shitons of aggressive expansion, but in early game you can use that. Just remember, let them build up a little bit, because if you eat a colony that has just 6 provinces, it will take a lot of time for them to rebuild, and you are getting 3 provinces by that, don't you? Okay, now if we want to go for the Sunset Invasion, you need to explore European regions as fast as possible. And by doing that, you should be looking for the weak spots where you can use no CB casus belli to attack it. And of course there are 2 requirements over here. On top of the weak spot, you also need to have a colonial range, so the coring range for this province. In my case it was Ireland, but you can also look for the Scotland, you can use for the North Africa, maybe even Iberia if it's weak, or Norway. It depends, you need to check all of these situations and adjust to it. And as you had plenty of time and plenty of gold mines in the meantime, it should not be a problem to win all of those wars, because you have practically infinite money to finance them. You can get a quite good heavy ships, quite good navy, and a lot of troops, even mercenaries over there. So don't worry, that should not be a problem to sooner or later get the achievement. Okay, so this is all for today's guide. Thank you guys so much for watching. Just remember to leave a like and comment on this video and subscribe the channel. And of course you can check out my Twitch channel, where we are still running an Aztecs campaign, just a late game, so you can see how it's going, you can see all of my other quite good achievement runs. It will be fun, so see you there soon!